Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. Guys, this is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika. All right, y'all. Get on in here. Get on in here. All right. This is Sistas, Season 4, Episode 17. Some Sort of Woman. Now, y'all, full disclosure, I pulled a muscle in my leg. Basically, I'm having muscle spasms right now. Haven't been feeling too good for the last 2 days. So if this recap is a little off, that is why, okay? But we are going to go ahead and get through this, and I'm going to give it all I got, all right? Just full disclosure. That if I seem a little off, that's why. But starting out this episode did give me some laughs, I can say that. And your boy Robin, I'm starting to like him more and more, okay? I wasn't really trusting him too much in the beginning. But Robin, so far, okay, until he shows otherwise, starting to get on my good side. So we started this episode basically picking up back with Dag on Q and Calvin, and y'all should know by now how I feel about them. And, Q is basically doing what he do, okay? He talking about we just having a conversation, and Calvin is like, well, I don't like it. He was like, well, then go ahead and go to bed. He was like, yeah, you go to bed, okay? He was like, well, I'm here on the, Q was telling him he's here on the sofa. And so Calvin was like, okay, well, then I'm going to sleep again. He was like, oh, well, I was asleep till you woke me up. And Calvin was like, well, you a damn liar because you said you wasn't sleeping and I didn't wake you up when I came in. So Calvin ain't that damn drunk, okay? Or either he's starting to come to his senses because at least he knew that. So then he go and he looking in the refrigerator. And Q's like, what are you doing? That's the fridge or whatever. That's not your room, And Calvin is not good with this damn drunk acting either. But we gonna leave that for another conversation, all right? And Calvin is basically telling him, don't touch me. And then, Q's asking him where he's going. And he's like, I'm going to bed. But, of course, he ends up going to Maurice's room. And Q is trying to tell him over and over, like, that's Maurice's room. And he's like, I don't care, all right? He just went in there anyway, and he closed the door. And then Q was basically calling after him. And he's like, this drunk mother. So that pretty much was that with that. He go ahead, like, if he so concerned about him and looking after him, but we all know we can't trust Q behind, So the girls go over to, Miss Karen's house to check on her. They walk in, and of course she's out there on the couch getting it in with Aaron. She told him to get out. She like, what y'all doing here? And she tells him not to move or go anywhere. And she step on out in the hallway to talk to them. So, of course, she's basically asking them what they doing, how they knew she was there. She's like, yeah, Pam with her big mouth. And they like, no, actually, we just guessed it. And she's like, guessed it. And they like, yeah. They was like, it wasn't hard to put 2 and 2 together or whatever. So Andy was like, no, actually, for the first time ever, Pam didn't say anything. And Cameron's like, she didn't. And she's like, So they like, no, we actually guessed. And she was like, well, how would y'all guess? And she was like, because you was out and about all day and we've been calling you. And she was like, that's all that Pam said was that you're out and about and we're actually smart, And so you weren't there all day. And, when do you disappear for the whole daggone day? And so basically, Karen couldn't say nothing. She was just standing there. But, of course, she don't want to talk about it. She's like, yes, I went to the doctor. And they like, okay, well, what did they say? And she's like, oh, I don't want to get into it out here. You know what I'm saying? Basically, Danny says, well, he was in there tearing your behind up, okay? And so she says, that they will go ahead and she's going to call them tomorrow. But they don't want no call, okay? They like, they are gonna, of course, Danny keeps asking, like, what did the doctor say? And Karen is saying, go live your life, have fun. Come on, just leave. And so, Serena also tells Karen that she's glowing. And she's like, go home, please. And Danny, of course, is like, just tell us now. And she's like, good night. I said good night. So when she goes in, they say, listen, we ain't waiting on no call, okay? We can ask her tomorrow. We're going to go ahead and show up at the salon before we go to work. And so they say, yeah, that's a good idea. And Sabrina's like, that's going to be 8 o'clock in the morning, right? So Danny's like, but wait a minute, that's too, early for me. And they like, no, you could do it. Okay, we are going to be there. So they agree that they will be stopping by the salon before they go to work and getting their daggone answers, okay? They need intel and they need to know what the hell is happening. So by the time she get back in, Aaron is putting his clothes on and Karen is apologizing to him or whatever. He tells her it's okay. And she was like, he was like, no, they just worried about you. That's all. They're good friends. And she was like, yeah, they do. So basically he was like, it's good to have friends like that. And she was like, yeah, but they shouldn't have just popped up unannounced. And he was like, well, yeah, could it be bad time, and I give them credit for that. But so she coming up to him like, where were you? Mind you, she see him putting his damn clothes on, but going act shocked, talking about why your clothes on. And she was like, oh, come on, please don't do that. Please don't do that. She was like, oh, God, sitting down on the couch. So basically, Aaron was like, look, Karen, you got a lot on your mind today, okay? You said it before. This just complicates things. Oh, it won't complicate anything, I promise. And he was like, it won't. She was like, no, it won't. She was like, I want you, you want me. And he was like, see, that doesn't make sense. And for once, Aaron is using his damn brain, okay? He was like, because one moment is complicated and it's difficult and all of this, and the next minute, you trying to get some. He was like, I don't know where I stand with you. So she was like, oh, Aaron. And he was like, no, I'm seriously. He was like, I want you to miss me the way I want, miss you. And so he was like, I got feelings too. And she basically was like, I know you do. He says, look, I already told you where I stand, and I told you, how I feel about you and all of that kind of stuff. But like I said, you got to understand where I'm standing at in this too. So she was like, I know. So basically he was like, I'm just trying to do what I think is best, and so you can figure all of this out. Okay, we don't need to be playing no games. And she talking about something, this is so unfair. The only one damn unfair, Karen, is your behind. But I digress, okay? And so he basically was like, I know what I'm doing. I'm a grown man, And she was like, yeah, we're both adults. And he was like, yeah. And so we need to handle this like damn adults, right? And he was like, so I'm just going to go. And she's basically like, And she was like, saw that coming. He was like, no, Karen, really, it's okay. He was like, please, just don't cuss them out. And she's like, no, I'm going to cuss them out. He was like, no, they was just trying to look out for you. Be gentle with them. And she was like, no, I don't see why. They don't deserve it. Like, really, Karen? Okay. So he was like, really, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go ahead home and I'm going to call you tomorrow, okay? And he basically gives her a kiss. And she was like, okay. So when he got ahead to walk out and leave, she said back, excuse me, y'all. She said back or whatever. He was like, good night. And she was like, you too or whatever. And when he go out to leave, she's basically looking like a little kid when they get mad, when they didn't get what they wanted to get. Like, I can't move around too much, y'all, because my damn leg is killing me. When she's like, mad, having a little temper tantrum or whatever the case may be on the couch once he walks out. And so I'm like, girl, all right, Karen, whatever, And so basically, we then had, let me see who it was. We then had Andy and Robin, right? And, he's basically there talking to her, and, he's just saying, like she's not really over Gary or whatever. He feels that she still has feelings for him. And she, she's telling him that she don't, she's over him or whatever. And she knows what she wants and all of that kind of stuff. And so, he's like, are you sure? Of course he had came in and he was giving her kisses or whatever. And she was like, I'm glad, that we finally getting over here. He was like, this really wasn't a quid pro quo, right? And she was like, well, I do feel like I owe you something. And he was like, helps with the guilt. And so she kind of changed up once he said that and was like, what guilt? And he was like, your man Gary. And so she was like, I don't have anything to do with Gary and I don't have any guilt over him. He was like, you sure? Is that really over? And so she was like, yes, it is. And so, he's like, you sure? And he was like, I just still don't believe you. And so she was like, well, why do you think I would have you here? Whatever the case may be, if it's over. And so he was like, I don't know. And, you know, she kind of, like, her posture and stuff changed when he said that. Seemed like she was getting a little bit of attitude there after that, okay? She asked him what kind of person, you know, does he think she is. Mind you, she did her cute little, you know what I'm saying, negligee, okay? And so she was like, I'm actually starting to get insulted now. So he was like, no, men could be sexual and women can be too. So she was like, now you saying I'm a whore? So he was like, no, I never thought that for a second. And she was like, good. He was like, I'm just saying that I think you are very careful. I think you are very, you know what I'm saying, what was the other word he used? Deliberate, you know what I'm saying? And I think that you are very strategic. And so she was like, well, that I can agree with, okay? He was like, you know, she said, well, damn, you making me sound like a freak. And he was like, no, like a woman or whatever. So she was like, but I can agree with that. Those things are correct. And he was like, mm-hmm. And so she started to like smile a little bit then and kind of loosen back up. And then she basically was, you know, starting to pour him some of the champagne or whatever. And she was like, well, what are you going to do with this woman? You know what I'm saying? Or are you going to do what this woman wants you to do? And so he was like, tell me, or whatever the case may be. What do you want me to do, you know? And so they started to do their little flirting again or whatever. And she was like, oh, no, I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to figure it out, all right? And so in the meantime, while they sitting there talking or whatever and drinking their little, you know what I'm saying, champagne, getting ready to get into some things, we see Gary behind sitting here peeking through the damn telescope, okay? I said, how far is Gary's office from Andy's apartment with his creepy little freaking pervert behind? All right? I knew it had to be something, so maybe he doesn't actually have anything inside of the house bugging it, but he's able to basically look through this telescope and see her from where he's at. So, Andy, better put up some damn curtains, baby. So, nonetheless, they there on the couch getting into it, and he's sitting here being all nosy through the damn, you know, telescope. And while he busy being over in the telescope, you know, of course, Hayden comes walking in and ends up, you know, seeing him. And it's like, he's sitting here rolling up his sleeves. I said, what the hell you rolling up your sleeves for, Gary? So when Hayden comes walking in, he's basically like, hey, and this damn Gary jumping talking about, oh shit, what are you doing here? I didn't know you was still here. I thought I sent you home. He was like, I didn't realize anybody was here. So he was like, go ahead home, man. So he was like, you good? You know, basically Jake is asking me good. He like, bro, go home, just go. So, you know, Jake is like, all right, damn. So then he talking about Jake, I'm sorry, come back, man. I'm sorry, come back. And he was like, what's going on, man? So he go ahead and pour him a drink or whatever the case may be. And he was like, oh, you ever did something so stupid for a woman? And Jake is like, yeah, duh. Like, who hasn't or whatever the case may be, right? Talking about you ever did something for a woman or whatever and you don't know why. And Jake was basically saying how much time you got. So he was like, well, what did you do? What happened? And he was like, is this, you know, having to do with your ex-wife? And he's like, no. He was like, okay, does this have to do with Andy or whatever the case may be? And I'm like, Gary, you the dummy. Okay, you are. Nobody told you to do that. You put yourself out there. And now, of course, we all know he's probably going to want to come at Andy and make it seem like she owes him something or whatever. Because he thought by him getting her this penthouse that was going to make her be with him. And that's not happening. So now you feel stupid. You know, he talking about, I can't believe her, whatever the case may be, and going on and on. And so, you know, Jake go ahead and fix them the drakes or whatever. And he was like, come on, man, just tell me what the heck exactly happened or whatever. What are you talking about? And he was like, well, I bought her this $3.5 million, you know what I'm saying, place. And Jake is like, okay. And then Gary starts laughing. And he's like, that's why I like you, dude. You always so calm about things. You always so cool about it or whatever. And he was like, well, I don't understand what's the problem with all the money that you make. And he was like, well, the problem is that she's over there having sex with a dude right now in that apartment. So Jake is like, well, damn. And then he was like, well, wait, how the hell do you know? And he was like, I just know. You know, of course, he don't want to admit to anybody that he's sitting here creeping and spying on their asses. And so he was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. He finished off his drink or whatever the case may be. And so, you know, he tells Jake that he's going to go and handle some stuff. So he's like, yeah, you can finish yours. And when, you know what I'm saying, you done, you just go ahead and get out of here. And Jake is like, all right, man. And then he just looking, and Jake sees the telescope and walks over to it. Jake sees the telescope and walks over to it, like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's pretty obvious. And he's like, oh, he's giving her back shots. I said, not back shots. Okay. So he basically just go ahead and leave out the office after that, right? And I didn't even realize that it was Jake that looked through until the second time. I actually thought it was Gary, but that was funny. So Calvin comes home. I mean, Maurice comes home, y'all, right? And he like, well, where the hell he at? Because he not seeing Q on the couch. And he's basically looking. He was like, I know he ain't in here with Calvin. So he looking there. He like, I know he ain't in my damn room, okay? He's like, I done had too many damn drinks. So he got had to walk to the room. Child, Q done came in there and got freaking, Calvin had propped up on his damn leg. Maurice, of course, is yelling. And he was like, why? What the hell is going on? What is happening here? Like, why? And so he was like, what is going on in here? Whatever. And Q was like, he got sick. And he was like, I could see that he got damn sick, okay? And so basically you even see that his like 3 pills down on the floor where he done must have been throwing up in them or whatever the case may be. And he was like, but why the hell is he in my room? And he was like, oh, well, he came in here because he was so drunk or whatever. So Maurice is yelling out, Calvin's name. And then he's like, and why the hell is he sitting on your damn, penis, laying on your penis? And he's like, get up. Calvin telling him he can't move or whatever. He was like, your ass is going in your room. He was like, I am in my room. He was like, no, bitch, you in this room. Okay, you in my room. Get your behind out of here. So he's like, huh, what are you talking about? Basically supposed to be so out of it. And he was like, Q want to tell him, I got him, okay. And so Maurice was like, yeah, and take these damn, buckets with you. And he was like, well, you better be glad that I caught him and I was able to put those in front of him. And he was like, man, you better be glad, because if he would have did that on my damn sheets, okay, I would have killed you. So here go Q, like I said, acting like he's just the concerned little helper. I got you, and moving, Calvin from his bed to take him into his room or whatever. To move him from Maurice's bed to take him into his room. And Maurice is just like, child, what the hell? And he there waving his hands or whatever the case may be because of the smell. And I was just like, yeah, okay, y'all, whatever, I can't with them. And so, excuse me, y'all. And so basically, we got to, of course, these girls was not playing, okay? When they said they want to come on in here and meet up with Miss Karen at the shop, that is exactly what they did. And so they like, yo, what is really going on? What is the truth, And so she was finally letting them know that there's a chance that this baby could be Aaron's. And Danny was saying, okay, well, that's good news. And, Karen getting mad. Why would you say that? She was like, because then you could go ahead and let him go, which is basically the same thing that she said to Andy. So I don't know what you getting mad about. And she's like, of course they telling Danny, oh, it's too soon. And she was like, look, y'all know I'm telling the damn truth. And they was like, yeah, we know that, but it's the way you say it. Okay. And so Andy, Andy told her Karen is just going through a lot. And then Danny's like, you telling me? And she was like, Danny, damn it. And she was like, look, this is a good thing, y'all. Okay, let's stay focused here. And Sabrina talking about how. And she was like, because Zach has moved on with Fatima, and you could finally cut the ties and move on too. You know what I mean? And so she was like, well, she does have a pretty good point. And of course, Karen is just still sitting there with the sour face. They basically still just saying that it's too soon, though. And she was like, I forgot how this goes. Anything I say, I'm going to be the bad guy, whatever the case may be. So I'm just going to go ahead and be quiet, and I'm not going to say nothing. Andy talking about, oh, that sounds like a plan. So Karen is actually like, well, let her talk. And she was like, well, she be waking and baking or whatever when she starts talking. And then Karen is like, no, I actually want to hear what she has to say. And Danny's like, I've said all I have to say. I'm not going to say nothing else. She was like, the point is that Zach moved on, and you could move on with Mr. Preacher Man. So here go Karen. Oh, but I'm not happy with him. Well, he was tearing your behind up last night, Danny says, okay, taking the words out of my mouth, okay? And so they was like, well, what was that about, Karen? Yeah, if you so in love with Zach, what the hell was you doing with him? So she was like, I just wanted him in that moment. I wanted him inside of me. I wanted to have that moment, okay? Are you happy? And it's like, no, none of us is happy, okay, Karen? So basically Sabrina was like, was it worth it? And Danny was like, no, because she wanted it to be Zach, okay? Period, point blank. And so they all like, Karen, oh boy, and she was like, well, he left as soon as y'all came anyway. So Sabrina was like, why? And she was like, basically, he was feeling just as bad as her. And she was like, at the end of the day, she feels like she's losing him. Okay, I'm surprised that she actually was talking about Aaron in that moment and not Zach. She says that she does like him a lot, and she was like, I don't know, it's just so confusing. And so Danny comes with more truth and was like, Karen, you don't have to figure all this out right this daggone minute. You do know that, right? And she was like saying that this is all she thinks about every day, all day, and it's such a big decision. So Danny, like I said, came through with the truth and was like, that's not what I'm talking about, or whatever the case may be. You are trying to say that you got to do all of this right now. You have time. And so Andy talking about she's pregnant. She has a baby in the way. And Danny's like, oh, really? Thanks a lot, Andy. I didn't know that. She was like, at the end of the day, you got 9 months to figure this out. You putting all this pressure on yourself when you don't have to have all the answers right now. Okay, the answers will come. And sometimes you just got to fit the pieces together. Okay. She was like, it's like a nice little puzzle. Okay, it's going to be a little Karen baby puzzle, all right? And so they was like, wait a minute, that was pretty poignant. Okay, you actually making sense. And she was like, yeah, who would have thought it? Okay, Miss Danny is making sense. And so even Karen says, sometimes when you smoking, you actually do make sense. And the other girls are saying they impressed. And she's like, well, my work here is done. I'm going to go. And by the way, Sabrina's seeing a prince. So they like, what? And she's like, I told you not to say anything. She's like, yeah, I didn't say anything last night. Okay. So they like, well, what is going on? Who is this prince? Prince of what? And she was like, well, I randomly met a prince. Karen, like I said, is saying prince of what? And then Danny's like a small country girl, okay? She was like, I think baby brain is starting to start. But nonetheless, she says she gonna get out of there. And, Andy and them are saying, tell me everything. She was like, he's a prince. So, now Sabrina's all awkward and she don't want to talk about it. And she like, oh, we're all going to be late for work. We'll talk about it another time, okay? Because we got to go to work, right, Danny? And she basically grabs Danny and they go ahead and get out of there. You have Andy asking Karen again, is she okay? She say, yeah. Miss Pam walks in or whatever. And, when Andy was saying, is you okay? Pam talking about, yeah, I was just stuck in traffic. She was like, girl, I was talking to Pam. And she's like, oh, my bad. So then I was talking to Karen, I should say. So Pam was like, my bad. So then when she leave out, Miss Pam lets Karen know that she brought her breakfast. She was like, I don't eat no damn breakfast. She was like, well, you eating today, okay? You have not been eating enough food and you have not been drinking enough water. She was like, girl, are you my mother? She was like, honey, do I look like I'm somebody's damn mother? Okay, I look too good to be anybody's mother, too young or whatever. So Karen did laugh at that and she basically took the food and was like, okay, she gonna eat it. And at first Pam was like, make sure you share some because I only bought, one, I didn't bought two. Then she was like, nah, I'm joking. And Karen goes and claims that she's going to warm up the food or whatever, right, to eat. So she was like, good, and you better eat all of it. So we then had Mr. Robin come inside of Andy's office, and he's basically like, well, no, I'm sorry. Before that, Hayden came in her office. He's questioning, like, what did you do? And she was like, what do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. He was like, yes, you do. She was like, well, you're not the only one that knows judges. And he was like, nah, this was higher up than a judge. Okay, somebody put in, a call to a higher up. And she was like, oh, really? So he was like, well, you're not going to be able to do the same thing with homeboy or whatever the case may be. And she was like, okay, if you say so. And he was like, I do. So when he was getting ready to walk out, Mr. Robin had walked in and was like, hi, because you already know what Robin said to him the last time. So he's like, yeah, hey. And he got ahead about his business. So, Andy's like, what the hell is that all about? And he was like, I told him I was gay. She was like, what? Why? Like, and she found it funny too. So he was like, he got something for him or whatever the case may be, right? And he was asking her, where's Fatima at? And she was like, she gave him the day off. And he was like, why? He was like, you ain't got to worry about him no more. And she was like, are you sure? And he was like, yes, I'm about to seriously screw his day up, okay? And she was like, really? How? And so he was like, you got that email, right? And the message or whatever. And she was like, well, yeah. So she was like, oh, he says he didn't know that I'm the boss. And, he was basically saying a whole bunch of stuff to me last night when we was talking. So he was like, come on, you ready? We're going to go ruin his day. And she was like, oh, you ain't telling me about all this. And she said, yeah, let's go ruin his day. So when they walk out there, basically, is the big bosses, okay, the top dogs, giving a speech. They's asking, is everybody there? And they like, yeah, they think this is everybody. So they said, okay, we could go ahead and get into this. So they was like, well, that, we've been all business for over 44 years or whatever, but the time has come, it's been an incredible ride and stuff like that, but the time has come that they go ahead and leave it to the bright new lawyers that's coming up, that's making this, firm, and that they appreciate everything that they have done for them. And, him and John is going to go ahead and retire, right? And so they all like, oh, he was like, oh, come on, don't do that. He was like, we left you in great hands. And so apparently the majority owners have sold, and they have Mr. Parker, which is Robin, Mr. Steven, Mr. Bailey, okay? So Hayden face starting to challenges, they saying this, and they like, Robin. So he's like, thank you, Robin start giving a speech saying, come on, we gonna miss these guys, and having everybody clapping. And he was like, well, my door's always gonna be open. I'm gonna be easy, for y'all to transition and be able to get to me as business as usual. I'm gonna have my email where y'all could go ahead and message me anytime, any questions and concerns. You could come to me directly. I'm very hands-on, all of that kind of stuff. And he was like, he's gonna be making his introduction. So they say, go ahead and everybody, get back to work. So here comes Hayden walking over to him, oh, congratulations. He like, thank you, because he shake the partner's hands first, and they go walking off or whatever. And so when Hayden come up to him, he's like, congrats. And so he was like, yeah, thank you. He's like, so we're going to need to have a conversation about some of them things that you was talking to me about the other night. And then Hayden is like, oh, yeah. And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, congrats again. And Robin is like, thanks, with the little smile on his face or whatever the case may be. And he's like, this is going to be fun. And Hayden is like, yeah, it is. I love it. Okay, so he go walking off. So and then Robin goes walking off as well, or whatever the case may be. I say, yes, somebody give it to Hayden, okay, because you've been nonstop being a pain in the damn behind. So Robin goes back and in the office knocking. And she's, basically standing up, giving him applause and tells him congratulations or whatever. And he was like, did you enjoy that? And she was like, yeah, so much. I can't lie, I did. She, he said, did you see the look on his face? And she was like, priceless. So he was like, I'm just getting started. So, basically she was asking him, is she going to see him tonight? And he was like, well, if you want to go to New York. And so Andy talking about what? And he was like, yeah, I'm getting on a plane or whatever the case may be. I have a meeting over there right after this. So she was like, oh, wow, I didn't know. She was like, well, I would like that. Okay. And he was like, and you would love the jet too. And so she basically was like, yeah, I would love the jet. And so she was basically like, he told her she have to come or whatever the case may be. And she was like, if I wasn't so busy. I said, girl, Andy, what are you busy with? But then I remembered that, that Zach is still locked up, because honey, I'd have been going and getting on that damn jet. Okay, so I guess that's what she thinking about. So I'll give you a pass on that, girl, but you gotta stop making excuses and get on that jet. So she tells him congratulations again. And then her phone was basically ringing. And, he left out or whatever the case may be. I say, yeah, I forgot. She do got to go, meet Fatima and find out what's going on with Zach, because Robin did also let her know that, he still had a hard time with getting Zach out or whatever, that's a no-go. But he was like, he set up something where her and Fatima would be able to go ahead in for this, meeting to see Zach. So she was like, oh man, for real. She was like, all right, well then thank you. So, she did call her and let her know everything so that they could meet up. So Hayden and Gary get on the phone, right? And he's telling him like, he basically had called Gary or whatever. And Gary answered and he was like, what? And Hayden is basically like, hey man, shit man. So Gary's like, what's going on? He was like, yo, that guy's not who he says he is. And he was like, who? He was like, Robin. He was like, I don't want to talk about that dude. He was like, no man, I'm telling you, he's definitely bigger because he just bought the company. So Gary is like, what? And he was like, yeah, he just bought the company or whatever. So he was like, wait, slow down. He bought the law firm. So he was like, yeah, that's what I said. He was like, so he's moving here. He was like, I think so. I don't know. So Gary's like, okay, is he in there with Andy? He was like, man, don't worry about that. He was like, why not? He was like, because he's gay. He was like, what? So he's like, yeah, he told me last night. He was like coming in here being all flirtatious and creepy and shit. So he was like, why would he tell you that? And he was like, because he wants me. Hayden was actually sounding like he was happy about it. So he was like, what exactly did he say? He was like, he didn't say nothing. When he came here, I was asking him, was he hitting on Andy? And he basically told me, he was like, well, how long after did he tell you that? He was like, right after. So he was like, hang up the phone. He was like, what, why? He was like, boy, don't you know when somebody's lying? Clearly he's lying to you. He's not gay. He was like, he's not. He was like, no, he's not. He was like, are you sure? He's like, yes, I'm sure. He was like, look, man, I don't know, because he came in here looking at me all crazy or whatever. Like, he wanted to eat me right up. And so he was like, get off the damn phone. So I guess he feels like they've been bugging their damn phones now or something like that, right? And they on to them because he was telling him to get off. So we finally get Zach, Fatima and, Andy show up there or whatever. And of course, Fatima and Zach is just happy to see each other. He's saying he's okay. She's saying she okay. They saying, they each other look good. And he was like, that man is a bitch. And she was like, come on, please. She was like, I'm fine. Stop it. I really wish that you wouldn't have did that because, he was saying he was 2 seconds off of killing his ass. And he was like, how come you didn't tell me when you was in here? And she was like, I couldn't tell you that. So then he looked at Andy and he was like, you had Andy lying for you. And she was like, come on, I need you to calm down. And he was like, I am calm. Trust me. All right. This is real calm. He was like, she seen me when I'm not calm. He was like, I just really love you. And she was like, I love you too. And he was like, yeah, I know, but this is a different type of love. He was like, man, I ain't gonna lie. Like before I said I love you, but now I realize, that I'm ready to listen all. So she was like I said, saying, I really wish you didn't do that. And he was like, how are you saying that to me? And then Andy was like, right, because we wouldn't be if you ain't start all of this. So nonetheless, she was, he was saying, do Andy have to be there? Andy was like, yeah. She was like, oh, I could cut this short. So they both was like, no. And Zach was saying he's sorry. So she was like, I get it. So he was like, but I also have the money, so what's up? Because I should be able to get bail. So she was like, we currently working on that. So he was like, working on that? What you mean? She was like, yeah, Robin is working on it right now. So he was like, who's Robin? She was like, well, Robin is the gentleman that's responsible for getting Fatima out. And he's basically the big boss. And I'm currently asking for a favor to get you out. So he was like, okay. He was like, thank you, whatever the case may be. And Andy was like, you welcome. So she was like, listen to me, you two. So, here go Zach, like, here you go. And she was like, yes. She was like, you let this man come in, interfere with your relationship. Y'all both is professionals, but y'all want to take it to the street. And she was like, look, I'm streets too, so I get it. So Zach was like, really? She was like, yes, I'm street. He was like, since when? Fatima looking like this. He was like, Beverly Hills Street, clarify. That was funny to me. I ain't gonna lie. So she's talking about, I'm all the streets, okay? I'm very street. I'm universally streetwise. I said, come on now, Andy, okay. But she was like, the point being, you gotta pick and choose your battles. There's a time and place for everything. And I do agree with Andy with that, okay? I hope going forward, if Zach gets out of this situation, we ain't gonna have no more of this, all right? And so she was like, babe, she's right. Fatima was basically telling him that Andy is right. And she was like, listen, now this asshole is probably going to come at John before she could even finish it. Fatima was like, he's probably going to sue both of us. So, Zach, like, he can't do that. And he like, Andy says both of y'all viciously assaulted him. So yes, he can. And he was like, people can sue you for that. And so Fatima's like, yes, babe, they can. And he was like, oh, she was like, yeah. Okay. So she was like, then he said, this is all your fault. She was like, what? He was like, if you ain't give him none of that thing, you got to be careful who you giving that thing to, okay? And so Andy's like, oh, Lord. He's like, he couldn't handle it. So, they both laughing about that part or whatever. She's like, I got to, Andy says, I got to get out of here. This is making me uncomfortable. But then she's like, shush, because the damn, prosecutor, whatever, come in, D.A. Jefferson, whatever. So he's like, I've been looking for you. So he was like, you representing them? She was like, well, something like that. I'm saying? I'm stepping in, in the meantime. meantime. So he was like, well, you're far away from divorces. So he go ahead and tell them, of course, what we kept seeing in that damn preview. We talked to the probation officer, and Zach is like, I'm off probation. He was like, well, they put you back on because of the recent arrest with non-payment of child support. So of course Andy's like, what? Because she don't know nothing about that. So that's now a whole another situation. And he was like, the probation is off because it was so close with, you know what I'm saying, the incident that happened. They put it back on, which I never heard of that, but maybe. And he was like, now you could be facing up to 10 to 15 years and bail is off the table. So he was like, I guess I'm gonna be seeing you around in court if you still around dealing with this. And he was like, you know, Andy's saying to him, isn't it something that we could do? So now Zach got to go through all of this damn crap, okay? And so that was pretty much the episode, y'all. That was the episode, honey. Tell me what y'all thought about it, what y'all liked, what y'all didn't like. Put it all in the comments. Let's discuss. What do you think is going to happen? You know what I'm saying? Next week, what are we getting into? How long are we going to drag out this daggone Zach story now, okay? I need my boy Zach to get out. Like, let's cut this out already, all right, y'all? But, like, comment, share. Okay, subscribe if you are so inclined. Till next time. Toodaloo.